Ladies and gentlemen, it's prime Stine time. We're back at it. Due to popular demand, overwhelming demand, I would say, based on your feedback last week, we're diving in. We're going head first, like Scrooge McDuck, into the gold pile here. Of that is the wisdom of Bradford Robinette Stine. I'm looking forward to it, and you should be too. All that and more.
Hansa Danza.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell to the yeah. What's up, Zod?
Oh, not much. I'm just here to read some Brad Stine. That's for darn sure.
Ooh, I was having audio issues before the show, so we did not communicate at all about stuff because I was up last week playing Cassette Beasts and my laptop just short circuited. Just absolutely would not turn on. I tried to plug it in, the little light even stops on the little charger. So I had to send it into Dell using my old computer right now. But the gift just that keeps on giving, that is Brad Stine. I had to be here for it. Had to be here. So I'm making it work while my computer's getting fixed. And that's why I think I'm a little yellow, because I haven't adjusted all of my settings on here yet. But you know, it's all good. It's all good.
All good.
That's my week. How was your week?
Everything was coated in ice at the beginning of the week, so where you basically couldn't drive. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool. Isn't it awesome where we can almost die from ice, and then also there could be fires in California?
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I had to, on Monday night, I had to park my car to school and like walk home. And you couldn't even stand most places. So I was like walking along the edges of people's garages and stuff.
See, in Texas, we close that shit. If there's like an inch of snow outside, we're like, no, we can't let the kids out there. They'll die straight up. So we just close it all down.
Yeah, the roads, and we have a 90-degree hill coming up to our house, and the roads are like water. We're like water pouring over glare ice. I was driving my truck down the hill, just inching down. All of a sudden, I just started sliding sideways, and I was heading right for a car. So I just let my foot off the brakes and hoped I was coasting in the right direction. Fortunately, it worked out.
Yeah.
But
scary stuff.
I blame it all on Brad Stine. Personally,
I blame it on Brad Stine. Absolutely, his attitude is affecting the weather, I think. But did you've dove in more into the lore? You've dove in more into the teachings of Mr. Stine?
Yeah, I'd already read the part we're going to do today last time, but I reread it today in light of the things, or I reread it for today, in light of the things that I realized I was going to gloss over last time that you might want to hear. I decided to highlight a little bit more, made a little outline. And I think I've been excited for today like I have not been for Azadanza in a while.
Zod texted me in all caps before this show. He was hyped. He was ready.
Not that I'm not usually excited for this, but like last week was so fun, and like thinking of what Brad has to say today and what we could say about what he has to say, I was just rip raring to go. You know, my body's failing, but my mind, it's looking forward to some Brad Stine.
His body was ready, folks. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's and great. If I have to get up this time, my back is still having a thing, but now it like migrated down to my legs, so I don't think I'll need to get up or stretch or anything, but we'll see.
So I've upgraded our thing here because I don't think we actually played audio last time, you know. So I want to see. That might be a little loud.
Yeah,
maybe
the audio will be distracting.
Like just a little bit, little ambiance in the background. Fine. I also thought we could play like some Claire de Lune or something. You know, we could do a little something like that. What do you think?
What's Claire de Lune?
Yeah, like classical music, basically. You know,
let's not get demonetized. I'm gonna at least
public domain. Public domain. Come on.
People false claim music all the time.
We didn't talk about it. Well, maybe next time. We'll get some ambience going. But I just thought I want to hear it. Chat. Let me know if the fireplace sounds isn't good. I'll turn it off. But like, you know, a little bit of ambiance this week. as we listen to the great teachings of the master. I love to hear it.
Yeah. So, as you remember last time, we got to dive right into this because there's a lot of Stine to cover today. And by the way, we have something that we're also excited about next week. You want to really quickly hype that to the audience?
Oh yeah. Okay. Wait. Do we want to talk about that yet, or do we not? Oh, I'll say this.
I asked if you wanted to. Didn't say you had to.
A guest was recently on the Joe Rogan show that I think caught my interest, and apparently also caught Zod's interest. So next week, look forward to us maybe talking about that. So there's a teaser for you. How about that?
I feel teased. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Also, Scuzzbopper, $6.66. Thank you for the super chat. Probably won't be able to catch the live this time. Catch this one live. Sorry. Have a good stream. Like Brad Stine, he ended with an exclamation point. Unlike Brad Stine, there were no parentheses and a disappointing lack of all caps. Thank you, though, for that super chat.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see Brad Stine writing an entire book in all caps. How funny would that
be? They probably reined him in from that. I wouldn't be surprised if there were at least more caps in the book than made it to publishing.
That was the editing they did. It's like, you can't type in all caps. You know, it's not good. Not good for the reader.
All right. So last time we talked about how Brad Stine thinks that other Christians, not him, can sometimes be a little silly. Silly being
right
euphemism for stupid.
Right.
He's the smart one because he's read many apologetical and philosophical books.
Exactly.
And thought about God and things about God.
Yes. Yes. And he's better than all those Christians that see the Virgin Mary and all the tortilla stuff out there. He's better.
Exactly. Well, hold on. He mixes his messages. So he makes fun of seeing Mary and tortillas, but then he also says, you know, Protestants don't get too self-righteous because just like they have their Mary, we have our plastic fish. So, and you really liked that. And I enjoyed watching you like that.
Right. Yeah. He's really into that.
So anyway, just what in our last one, that whole thing about Catholics was leading up to how he thinks that Christians, as the title of this stream goes, are too obsessed with the devil. And I'm here for this one. So before we get started, little quote. It's said that as a child, Wolfgang Mozart killed another boy by slamming his head into a piano. Don't worry, my research for this book has proven the claim untrue. As your heart rate settles, though, consider the power an author, heretofore referred to as me, can hold over a reader, heretofore called you.
Are you fucking joking? That's real? Are you fucking joking right now? That's real. That's real. You didn't make that up? Oh,
I didn't make it up, but it didn't come from Brad Stine's book.
Okay.
It came from a satire book called The UUR from Severance. But what I love is that you probably would have thought that came from Brad Stine.
Wait, Severance, the TV show?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that. Oh,
yeah.
I guess it's been. Wait, is that the new season? Is the new season out? I gotta watch.
No, it comes out shortly after our doom is begun.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yes, Fletcher from on high. Did the Severance guy's brother-in-law write that?
Okay. I forgot about that. It's been too long since the new season, so I need to watch that. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, we're not here for that.
We're not. We're here for some this guy right here.
I'm here to hear from the prophet. Stine. There he is. There's that guy. I thought about this time maybe just having just a giant. Here's what I should have done. Oh, I'm just now thinking of this. Maybe for next time we start with just a picture of Brad Stine's face, Sod, and then I just have it's actually a video, and that over the course of an hour it just slowly zooms in. How about that? Maybe for next time.
So we're picking up Brad energy off the book. Maybe something mellow to offset that, like a nice fire. I don't know.
Just deep. You gaze deeply into the eyes, and I don't know. It does for you, right?
So we left off last time with Brad Stine saying, "Sure, some Catholics see Mary everywhere, but some Protestants see Satan, all caps, everywhere.
Right. And so if you think Bagsod, a couple months ago when we were talking about Brad Stine, and I think I was showing you a transcript of the Fox News clip where he was on with, it was Sean, right? Sean Hannity. And
Or
he
was
talks
it
about
Bill
this.
O'Reilly?
No, I think it was Sean. I think it was
Was it?
Hannity. Yeah.
They all seem the same to me.
They're all kind of the same. You're right. But wait, was it O'Reilly? I don't remember. One of those Fox shows. Okay. And he talks about this. He briefly mentions this because I think like this was kind of after the book was out, right? So maybe he was doing a little bit of promo. But he talks about how he doesn't like Christians that talk about Satan too much. And he says he makes fun of the Christians that ban stuff like Harry Potter and stuff. So now I'm excited to get into the deep dive of his really well thought out stuff here, because I'm sure he has a great master thesis that we could all learn from.
Well, then let's get to learning.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Okay. So picking up. Sure, some Catholics see Mary everywhere, but some Protestants see Satan everywhere. There is even a Christian television channel providing training so you can see Satan's unique handiwork. You've heard them. Help, Satan's in my computer. Satan's in my radio. Satan cost me my job. And
have you heard that? Satan's in my radio? I don't know if I've ever heard that.
I don't know. I've been around Pentecostals, so that doesn't sound too outlandish to me.
That's too general. I feel like usually it's like, oh, Marilyn Manson is satanic or something, right? Like, isn't it usually like specific things, not just like, oh, my computer? I don't know. Is he just making shit up?
Well, so there's different kinds. There's the one where you think a message from a certain musician might be satanic.
Yeah.
Then there's like when you get to charismatic Pentecostal level where you actually like pray over individual items in your house in case the devil's in them or something like that. So
right,
he's talking more about that kind.
I guess so. All right, carry on.
So here's his retort. I have a thought. Maybe your incompetence cost you your job.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty rich coming from Brad Stine.
Yeah.
Comedian Brad Stine lecturing people about their competence.
Yeah, about their jobs, their real jobs. Yeah. I mean, like, this is just such bottom of the fucking barrel shit. Like, yeah, okay, some of these people are outlandish and wild and maybe a little crazy. Like, yeah, that everybody knows this. This isn't new,
Yeah, if you point in the right direction, you'll find a Christian who's dumber than you are. So, good job, Brad. Congratulations on that.
Congrats. Yeah.
Not generalizing that Christians are dumb, but you have a certain insecurity about your mentality and about the the intellect behind what you believe and stuff, I think. And so you try to find, I was that way too. Sometimes I would like to point to the crazier ones, especially if I had doubts about my faith, which I started to. It helps for me to say like, well, Christianity makes sense. It's just, there's those crazy ones over there. And I think that's kind of what he's doing.
I think every Christian has done that to some degree.
Yeah.
Really, the comparison of other Christians where it's like, well, at least I'm not like those Christians, right?
Yeah. That's the thing behind denominations and, whatever. Mm-hmm. By the way, there's things in the chat about Mr. Z and we know what that stands for and it's Zod and stuff like that. I am thinking that is essentially just shorthand for Zod. The Z is. So I'm not totally crazy. I'm not totally sure I'm crazy about the Z name. So I might think of changing it like Mr. Zod or something. If that sounds cooler to you or better.
Yeah.
Let me know.
What about Mr. Z's?
Mr. Z's?
Yeah, Z's nuts.
That.
Woo! Got him. Yes, that was great. I'm satisfied.
Just because you're reading Brad Stine doesn't mean you have to be as mature as Brad Stine.
The great thing is I don't even have to read it. I can just sit here and make all the D's nuts jokes I want while you read it to me. That's it's the best relationship, honestly.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into this book a little bit. We're getting distracted. I think this class is getting out of hand. This class being the people.
A lot of people make comments about you being the teacher and me being like the ADHD student in school.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I hate that you're right.
I'll start writing you up for tardies.
Yeah, really.
So your competence costs you your job. Now, here we get to his point. First of all, where in the New Testament do we see Satan ever possessing someone and then being cast out? Good question, Brad. Never. We see demons cast out of people, but Satan's nowhere to be found.
Wow. Okay.
And that's probably a point in that, I guess, if you're into the, sorting out the technicalities of how demons and Satan entering people works, because
yeah, but doesn't that just kind of move the goalpost? Because it's like there are still people that are claiming demons are doing things, right?
Yeah.
So does Brad Stine not believe that demons are doing things? Because like Christianity does say that demons can do things, right? So
that's what he's saying. Demons can be cast out of people, but Satan's not. So,
yeah, I guess it's just like
I'm smarter than them. I think demons inhabit people's bodies and make them crazy, not the actual devil.
It's the demons that people can move into pigs, and the pigs can throw themselves in the lakes. Okay, it's not Satan. Let's clear the record here. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's not think like ancient barbarians. We are modern men of science. Okay, so now he follows this up with a classic Brad Stine riff. We see demons cast out people, Satan's already found. Apparently, afflicting people with leprosy is beneath him. There is something about those oozing sores that are frankly a bit yucky, even for Satan. Again, the first time we see Satan in the New Testament is when he appears to Jesus in a misguided attempt to seduce him.
It's really funny he says that, because actually, literally, the first appearance of Satan is in the book of Job, right? I mean, like chronologically, in the time of the order of books, right? And like God is
traditionally according to Christians, that's a completely different personality, but yeah.
But like, it's supposed to be Satan basically, but in that scenario it is God that is giving people the diseases and Satan's just like, you should do that though, and God's like, okay. So
I think he even makes this point. We're not necessarily going to get into all that, but I think he even mentions the Job thing. So he makes the point that Satan doesn't actually. And I remember thinking things like this too when I thought that Christians were a little too historical about everything. Satan doesn't actually physically harm you, blah, blah, blah. So maybe sad to say I was a little more like Brad Stine as a Christian than I think.
Yeah. Well, at least you didn't write a book about it.
Yeah. Well, and there are a lot of different ways of varying quality to make that point, and then different places to take it afterwards. So that's speaking in really broad terms to say that we had that one specific conclusion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, isn't this the same guy who, while living in the presence of God, decided he could claim equal authority with him, thus getting his hind end thrown out of paradise? Then, when God comes to earth, he tries the same thing. This is the mental giant with whom we are doing daily battle.
Is he dunking on Satan right now? So like he wants to prove he's better and smarter than other Christians by talking about how dumb this fictional character is compared to everybody else going on in the Bible. That's great.
But there are different ways to read this. And what struck me is it sounds like he's dunking on Satan and how stupid Satan is, that, could you even believe he would try to fight God twice? And in a way, it sounds like he's dunking on the story, not the character.
Yeah.
Because this really comes down to the logic of, does this story even make sense? This great tempter who's, God's greatest adversary and is going to turn us all against him, made these really stupid common sense decisions.
Yeah, it's almost as an atheist could have written what you just read to me, honestly. Yeah. And it still reads kind of the same. Yeah, you're right about that. That's interesting.
Yes, really, question mark. This book will take a year to read at this rate, but we'll start skipping over stuff, hopefully. Yeah. So here we get to his point. I mean, pain exists because Satan exists. So it's not that Satan actually hurts us, but the very concept of pain comes because Satan in the fall. So then Satan, being evil, decided if he was going to burn, he was taking others with him. He tempts Adam and Eve, who fall, thus ending the perfect friendship they had with their creator, and marking the beginning of pain and the need for a wardrobe, which apparently is the one upside women found in the fall. Yeah, we're going to die, but we get to wear 90 different pairs of shoes over a lifetime to get there.
Oh my fucking God. What a fucking boomer ass Christian joke that is. I swear to God. Wow. You got to have a little bit of misogyny in there, you know, just a little bit. Man, incredible.
It's just a strange I don't know. He has a really strange way of putting half-assed lazy 90s comedy in with stories about the devil and leading to the fall. Like, it feels very incongruous, I think.
Yeah, it really does. It's literally, it is. It's Eve shopping, dude. That's so good. That's a good one, Melly. Yeah, no, it's like I'm still kind of caught up on the whole theodicy of his, right? Like, what's his? He literally believes Satan is the reason for pain. Is that what you were saying earlier, or is he saying other Christians believe Satan's the reason for pain? Because this is something that Christians, every time you read a Christian book, they never seem to agree on, right?
He's saying he's a little unclear because his thoughts are scattered and he keeps interjecting these stupid comedy bits into them.
Yeah.
But it sounds like his real point is he's trying to distance everything from the idea that Satan is actually physically interfering. Like, Satan doesn't physically attack you. Satan's role was just to set off the fall, and the fall is what led to pain and suffering.
Yeah, but like his counterexample is a time where Satan literally talked to somebody and like convinced them to do things. So is he really like, you know, defending his position that people who are talking to Satan or think Satan is trying to influence them like aren't being real when they say that? Because it kind of supports their position, if anything, right?
So, Dan?
Yeah.
Remember last time when I said that Brad keeps making these offhand remarks?
Yeah.
And one will contradict the other?
Yeah.
You're trying too hard to find consistency in this book, I think.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I tried.
Yeah. So even death, the ultimate triumph of evil, came as a result of our choice to disobey God. In other words, humans were not designed to die. We just figured out how to do it! ! So essentially, that kind of ties his point together, which is a clumsy way of putting it. But taking the context, some of which I'm skipping over here together, he's saying that it's the human choice to sin, not Satan actually causing death and destruction and pestilence directly, that's making us all miserable.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Humans are not designed to die. You know, I don't know. That's just I never heard a Christian really refer to it that way, but I guess if you literally believe that was supposed to be our destiny or whatever, I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. That's just kind of weird.
Yeah, the logic to it gets pretty hairy when you consider that the universe is supposed to be designed for us.
Right.
So from the beginning, when God was designing the universe, the possibility of our deaths had to have been in his mind if he was designing to not kill it. You know, there's all, but you could just go down a road there.
What if you like trip on a rock in the Garden of Eden and split your head open? Right? Like, or do you bounce off that shit? Like, what happens then? I don't know. The immortality thing has just always been kind of confusing to me, even when I was a Christian.
Yeah, but I don't think they put a lot of thought into it, and I don't think we have to.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he talks about how Satan tempts Jesus, and he's actually going to spend most of this chapter talking about Satan tempting Jesus and some of the implications and everything. But his central point is, notice Satan is tempting, not possessing. So Satan doesn't come possess you. That's the job of demons. Again, we're men of science. Demons possess people, not the devil.
Right, exactly.
So I don't know. Satan's tempting, not possessing. Why? First, you don't send a demon to do a devil's job. I think there's some stuff in here that's supposed to be comedy, but we can't stop for all this. So we're gonna
okay. So we're not. Take your time with this. Take your time. I want to enjoy the man's word. Right. I want to see what he's got to say. So.
Okay. Well, I mean, at a point, this will get tedious if we go through every single paragraph.
Sure.
So, okay. Well, I'll add one more paragraph here that I hadn't highlighted, but notice something closely. Nowhere do we see Jesus battling Satan's overwhelming supernatural power. There is no lightning being called down from heaven. No screaming demons clawing at his clothes, not even the arbitrary locust. Instead, we see Satan attempting to trip Jesus up by creating the opportunity for Jesus to decide to destroy himself. So again, Satan tempts, he doesn't possess.
I guess so.
Satan's style, and then in parentheses, and I use that term loosely, hasn't changed since the beginning. The laziness of the comedy just irritates me.
God. That's so silly.
Okay. So here we're getting into the structure of the three temptation thing.
Yeah. Before you go, I just like there literally, I guess there is warfare imagery in the Bible, but I guess that's all in like Revelation between, like demons and angels and stuff. I guess Brad Stine doesn't think there is, spiritual battles. That's kind of a Pentecostal thing anyway, right? Where it's like, oh, there's angels and demons and they're fighting each other all the time. That's kind of another idea people have.
Well, I guess either it's just inconsistent, or maybe you have to have some kind of separation from, like in the Garden of Eden, there was some kind of direct intervention. At the end of days, there's going to be some big battle, but right now things are different. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point, you can't expect things to work like in the mythology of the Bible, because it clearly doesn't. So what kind of separation, I think, is a measure of what kind of Christian you want to consider yourself to be and how intellectual of one, I suppose.
Right. Mm.
So he approached Jesus on 3 human appetites. Let's examine a couple to see what he was up to. First, he appealed to his physical needs. Make these stones become bread. Now, this was a legitimate test. Jesus was hungry, and hunger is good. Jesus had an actual physical need. His body needed nourishment.
Okay. Did it, though? Because he could still live without it, right?
Maybe in terms of doing a miracle or something. I don't know. Brad's trying to make a point here. Listen, he's trying to make a point.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
40 days without food would leave anyone a little famished, except maybe a supermodel, as long as she had a pack of Marlboros.
Oh, what the fuck? Whoa. Damn, Brad, what the fuck? Okay.
So all these little comments, I mean, this is basically an anorexia joke, right?
Yeah, that's what that is. What the fuck? I did not expect that.
The same person who just a few pages earlier was talking about reflecting true Christian character and being a light to the world and putting out a hand to people who need it is making anorexia jokes about models. Well done, sir.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, do you think there are not supermodels that are Christian? Because there are. Like, I always love it when people make those kinds of jokes about people's professions and stuff, or just people's way of life. It's like, there are people that live that way and are also Christian. Do you not understand that they would read that and wonder what the fuck you're talking about? Or maybe wouldn't like that, but yeah, Brad and empathy don't get along too well.
Or even if they weren't Christian, like, all that much more, aren't you supposed to want to show them the love of Christ? Don't you want to be like, do you want them to feel insulted and like you're making a joke out of something they're probably insecure and struggling with on a medical level?
Right.
Maybe don't tease about that, Mr. Brad Stine, the Christian who wants to be a light to the world.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of clumsy integration of comedy here. By the way, Jason Sherwood has an idea for us that I like. T-shirt idea. Thanks, Brad Stine, for all the content.
Yeah. And just the picture of Brad Stine, like, giving a thumbs up. I bet we could find it.
He would sue us. That's his image. In his
I'd pay for that. I'd pay for the right. The Zadanza funds, right? That's what they're there for, folks. I'm just saying. We already used it to get some books, so.
Income from this show would not hire a child to be your lawyer.
Yeah. No, probably not.
All right. So we go from that classic little touch. And he talks a little bit about the mechanics of what Satan is doing. Basically, we'll get to this point. Satan knew exactly who Jesus was, yet he tried to get him to jump through hoops as though he owed Satan something. This is the same reasoning people today use not to believe. If God is real, he has to heal my wife, get me out of debt, and so on. God is under no obligation to do anything to or for us to prove anything. Now, this next sentence is in all caps with 2 exclamation points.
Oh, man. We need a count. We need a count of how many times he's used all caps. Because this is what, the 3rd time at least?
My computer only has so big a hard drive. Sorry. We do not dictate to our creator the means by which he must validate himself to us! Exclamation point, exclamation point.
Oh my God. Is he telling me what to do now? What's happening? That's so strange.
I know.
This is what like a lot of Christian teachings basically get down to at the end of the day. It's just do it because I said so. And that's kind of a pretty good example of that. You know, you believe this because I tell you to, not that you have to show anything of any meaningful value.
Yeah. They don't believe in God because there's evil in the world. Gee, by that logic, wouldn't it mean that God must exist because there is good in the world? Checkmate, atheists.
Are you fucking joking? No. Oh my God. Whoa.
Brad, Mr. Stine. In all those philosophical and apologetic readings, did you come to understand anything about the basics of the problem of evil? Like, do you know at least what playing field we're on, sir?
He got the inverse. He's like, there's good in the world, so there has to be a God. Well, that's okay. I haven't seen William Lane Craig talk about that, you know? All right. He's an inventive guy, Mr. Stine. That's interesting. Somehow he gave a weaker version of the problem of evil somehow. Amazing.
Yeah, we don't even need to tackle that.
I
think everyone in the audience gets that one. The biggest problem with atheists is they believe in God only if he behaves in the manner they have defined for him. But in order for him to be God, he would have to behave differently than any of us could truly grasp.
That's interesting because, like, I don't think I do. I think the Bible literally says if you pray for things, they'll happen. Like, that's what the early apostles did. That's what happened even after Jesus's death. There were people doing miracles and stuff. Like, it very clearly says your faith can move mountains, right? Like, your faith should be able to do things. So I don't think I'm beholding God or Christians to a higher standard there. I think it's exactly the standard that they give out.
Yeah. Well, that's your personal human expectation that God should do what he said in the Bible.
Right. Right. Because, like, yeah, if somebody says they're the son of God, you should just believe them on sight. You should just believe them. Don't question it at all, I guess.
Cayenne Young, to paraphrase Hank Hill, Brad Stone isn't making Christianity better. He's making comedy worse.
It's true. Kicked out of Hollywood, this guy. Kicked out of Hollywood.
You'll notice there's going to be a lot of asides here, and most of his jabs at atheists or most of his apologetics are just ribbing people for expecting the idea of God to be falsifiable in any way. All this comes down to is God's completely untestable, right? Like, yeah, you shouldn't expect for there to be anything verifiable to demonstrate God's existence, because that's expecting to put him in your box.
Yeah, which is funny because it's like the apostles, they got to see all the evidence, I guess. What made them more worthy of seeing the evidence than, like, literally every other human on earth? Like, why do some human beings get to have better evidence than other people? It's just they're more privileged than we are, is what it really is, Sod.
Well, and if I just walk up to Brad Stine and say this cup is the most powerful, wisest being in the universe, and he says no, that's just a cup. Yeah. I can't just say, well, how dare you question the cup? It works in ways that you can't understand. It has a reason for just looking. Like, yeah, he's not questioning an all-powerful being who wants to look like a cup. He's questioning me and the dumbass thing I said. So,
yeah, and he wouldn't just do that either, Zod. He would post a 4-minute video to his YouTube channel and say, like, I talked to this atheist and he said this red cup is the beginner of the universe. Isn't that stupid? And he would go on a whole rant about that, and he wouldn't even, like, get to anything else.
So he goes on to say, he goes on to say God does things in the way he chooses in his time, his way, blah, 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 blah. Sure. Jesus didn't produce bread right then because by being hungry, he could understand us better. Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
But he did produce bread for other people, I guess, as for hungry people. So don't know what's up with that, but okay, sure.
Well, he knows the time and the place in his wisdom.
Time and place.
And also, this is. Remember, that wasn't doing it in response to a demand for Satan. Satan being a stand-in for atheists who actually want to see evidence for anything.
So if Satan said, "Feed these hungry people," Jesus would be like, "No."
Hey Jesus, let all the Christians into heaven. I'm not going to do what you say.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome! Wait, that's so good. Would he follow it? Would he follow what Satan had to say? Oh man, this is a conundrum. I like that.
Think also, Brad put a little reasoning into why Jesus didn't produce the bread there, right?
Did he? Was there reasoning?
Well, no, Jesus doesn't do things on demand for Satan. He has his own reasoning in his own time. He went through some suffering by not eating right then.
Sure.
So, he's giving reasons. He's going to give reasons for this next one too. So
okay.
The second one is, the second temptation was when Satan took Christ to the top of a building and declared, "Throw yourself off." For in scripture it says blah blah blah, right?
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Satan was like, that moment is kind of metal, by the way, because Satan's like, literally kill yourself, like jump off of this building and fucking die, or do like an Assassin's Creed kind of jump into a haystack.
Well, he's saying throw yourself off to prove that you won't die.
Yeah, he's saying do a flip. That's really what he's saying.
Yeah, but what I want to get at here is, he says he will send angels. For it says in scripture, he will send angels to protect thee, lest you bash your foot upon a stone. And then Jesus answered with the word, "It is also written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God." So I just want to quickly point out, Brad's coming up with all these elaborate explanations for the logic of what Jesus did, when really all the Bible shows us was a retort where Satan said one verse and Jesus said another verse. And they really weren't that connected to each other.
Yeah.
Like, when he says command these stones to become bread, Jesus says man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't really explain why you wouldn't want to make bread for yourself. It's kind of a pointless retort. So Brad comes up with, he in his own mind, he creates his own reading of the situation and projects it onto the story, like Christians often do. And so he's actually producing reading to try to improve the Bible, I guess.
Yeah, this is interesting because like Christians will point these verses out where Jesus is tempted and stuff, and they think the answer is, oh, just quote the Bible. But like the Bible part like doesn't actually make sense either. Like it's literally just talking about the problem of Christianity, which is here's one guy, Satan, quoting a verse, and here's Jesus also quoting a verse, and it's like we don't know which one supersedes the other. Like that's the whole point. That's why this is all a problem, or why the Bible historically is a problem for Christians, because they don't know what they're supposed to do. It's kind of subjective. So it's very funny that Brad's like, okay, this actually Jesus wins. Jesus wins because he had the last word, I guess.
And there are degrees to this. Like, he will send angels to protect you in one verse. It is also written, you shall not tempt the Lord thy God. You could intelligently put together that don't tempt the Lord your God, or don't put him to the test. Follows from that in that you're not supposed to just frivolously do things and ask for a miracle. Like, I could see the logic in that, but you're still connecting some dots. And then with a bread, you're connecting a lot more dots between something that really doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah. Maybe Brad should just trust the Bible to like be intelligent without having to fill in all the gaps with his own explanations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be nice. But we need the Brad Stine commentary on the Bible. That'd be great. Would love to hear
it. Here it is.
Yeah. Oh, great.
But you mean an entire Brad Stine?
No, just
Bible?
Brad Stine Bible, a Brad Stine Bible that has his commentary on there.
That would actually. I would buy one of those.
Yeah, you would.
I wouldn't want wouldn't like the idea of him getting money from it, but I'd be curious to see what that was like.
I wonder if we could train a large language model on just Brad Stine's writings and like transcripts of his comedy to like, produce its own Bible commentary. That'd be interesting.
You know how in the old science fiction movies they would like explain something, like tell a robot something that was totally freaky, and it would just say error and error, and smoke would start coming out, and it would just fall over. I think that's what would happen to an AI if you showed them the work of Brad Stine. It would break the AI.
Yeah, it wouldn't know what to do with it. Oh man.
So Brad continues, I wonder if there might be the idea that God is not in the business of putting on a show. His powers of intervention in our lives are not designed to be a spectacle. Actually, during Jesus' ministry, he informed the freshly healed person not to tell anybody what had just happened. Jesus wasn't seeking an audience by which he could have crowds of people swooning over his physical manifestations of God's work, all the while having his cloak around to slay people in the spirit, quote unquote.
Yeah, because his stuff wasn't real. Yeah, they didn't want people to look too closely at it. Maybe that's it.
But also, Jesus like produced a bunch of food in front of 5,000 people. Like,
right?
I don't know.
That's another weird contradiction of the Bible, because like especially in the Gospel of Mark, you see Jesus being like, oh no, don't tell anybody that I'm doing these things, and then later on Jesus is like, I am the Son of God and you won't get to heaven except through me. It's like these two very different versions of Jesus that again Christians just kind of take at face value and just don't really think about the contradictions.
Or you could just try to like jimmy the story a little bit to explain why he did one thing one place for his safety, or for it wasn't the time yet or whatever. But yeah, you're trying to make the story smarter and is at that point. But what this reads as to me is Brad just trying to again suggest the idea of God being unfalsifiable. Like, you don't want there to be any kind of demand for miracles or evidence of any kind. That's what I take from this.
Right.
You stupid atheists always want to see actual signs of God existing.
Yeah. You stupid atheists want reasons to believe in this stuff. Well, let me tell you, you don't need one. Just listen to it. Okay? Just believe it. That's it.
So notice that after saying Jesus didn't want to go around doing miracles, having people swooning while he waves his cloak around, he mentions slaying in the spirit.
Right.
He goes on to riff on this for a minute. I'll just read it for you. He while waving his cloak around to slay people in the spirit, causing them to lose control of their faculties and faint as they hit the ground. Interestingly, when this alleged phenomenon is put on display, you will fortuitously discover the church has provided catchers to keep the person from bumping their head as they collapse, as well as a draped cloth across a woman's leg to protect her modesty. So let me get this straight. God is going to knock people out, but doesn't anticipate that they could get injured on the way down, and their lying there could cause some man to stumble, blah, 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 blah. So either God didn't think this through, or a spectacle was exactly what God wasn't in the business of manufacturing. I'm guessing if God Almighty chose to engage in some form of communal outpouring of his spirit, which he is entirely free to do if he chooses, it wouldn't look like a poor man's version of a hypnosis show. But maybe that's just me.
What? But like, didn't Jesus literally do that at Pentecost? Isn't that like kind of the whole thing that happened?
Slay people in the spirit?
Yeah.
Jesus himself wasn't there at Pentecost. I don't know if that's exactly what you mean, but
I mean, just like when Jesus came back and was like, "Oh, I'm," well, I guess you're right. I guess it was the Holy Spirit.
Jesus had ascended by the time.
Yeah.
Pentecost, I don't think being slain in the spirit is ever documented in the Bible, and I took that issue with people who were slain in the spirit even when I was a Christian. It mentions speaking in different tongues and prophesying and interpreting and stuff like that. I don't think it ever shows people being slain in the spirit. So Brad kind of has a point there, but he's doing the same thing where he just riffs on Christians for these specific things. And
yeah, it's very silly because again, this whole argument is, oh, Jesus doesn't have to do these things. But the reason why we believe he's the Son of God is because he did these things, right?
Yeah,
like he did them for people. So yeah, why would I not want to know or see that was done? Like, that's why people believed he was the Son of God in the first place. Why is that asking for too much for me to see that too? All you're doing is asking for me to believe other people's accounts of them witnessing that they did it, that the guy did it. It just doesn't, it's not reasonable.
Well, that's where he wants things to park. Is you have these stories of it happening, and he wants you to believe them because apparently Jesus wanted to do enough stuff for the sake of producing this narrative. He did want to put himself on display, so there was stories of his marvels to make people believe, but he doesn't want to recreate it for you. Yeah. What I find interesting about this, though, is Brad is breaking down the logic of a supposed work of the Lord, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So suddenly, Brad, we're evaluating how God is supposed to work and making sure it makes sense to us. Like a couple pages back, he's just telling us, well, you can't judge how God works. He does it in his own way. And if it wasn't beyond our understanding, and now here he's trying to boil it down to his understanding.
Yeah.
So he said you can't come to me expecting me to explain why God doesn't do certain miracles and stuff and blah blah blah, but now he's coming to these people and expecting them to explain the logic of being slain in the spirit.
Right.
So he's usual, he's contradicting his own point.
Yeah, he's trying to have it both ways. He's saying humans can't justify this, and here he is, a human justifying this. Right? Yeah, it does. And Christians do this all the time. You're right. This is a very common thing. But yeah, he does this. He's been doing this. He's been doing this a lot so far.
But also there's a fine point in here, which I find especially funny, just how much he flip-flops on things. He says that God wouldn't knock people over without anticipating they'd fall. So basically he relies on people to catch them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the whole point he was making earlier is that God doesn't always do everything for us because he expects us to be self-reliant, right? Like doesn't give you always exactly what you want, because sometimes he wants you to figure it out for yourself, or maybe go through something or learn a lesson.
Right.
So wouldn't that exact same logic apply here, where God's going to slay you in the spirit, but people are supposed to use their common sense and catch people? Like at one point you're supposed to explain God. At one point you're not supposed to ask questions about God. At another, he asks questions about other people's idea of God. At one point, God isn't supposed to do a miracle to save you out of every situation. At another point, why would God do that unless he provided a miracle to save you? It's all so jumbled. It's nonsense.
Yeah. And like at least the Apostle Paul got knocked over, right? And I don't know if that was too good for him, but I don't know. That's just a very specific example for him to land on. Like, I guess not only are the Catholics targeted, but the Pentecostals are under the thumb of Mr. Stine here. He really doesn't like those folks.
Yeah, you were talking last time about how he wants to put out this broad tent and, be as bland as possible for as many Christians as possible. I guess he's not really concerned about the Pentecostal dollar for this book.
No, I guess not. To be fair, out of all the denominations, those are probably the least likely ones to be watching his kind of comedy and stuff anyway, right? So
I'm not so sure about that. I think
so?
I think I knew some Pentecostals who would watch him. He has that brash, obnoxious way about him that, and a lot of his stuff is just general Christian evangelical boomer conservative. I could see him having an audience there if he didn't go shit on him right here. So
yeah, I guess so. I just feel like Pentecostals are the least likely to go to comedy shows in the first place. So I don't know, but maybe that's just my bias.
Yeah. Human challenges and trials are our daily spiritual workout to practice new behavior and rehearse how we instantly respond to adversity. So the concept that demons are at the root of all our problems is the Christian's journey into the wonderful world of not my responsibility.
Oh, okay.
So
he's a responsibility guy, Brad.
He's tying it all together. This whole thing about expecting miracles is, again, expecting miracles like for God to instantly catch you when you fall, but we won't keep harping on his inconsistency.
But I do want to know, does Brad at least admit that demons are a problem some of the time? Right? Like maybe not all the time, but clearly like some of the time, right? Because there have been like demon possessions and stuff. Like Jesus did heal people of that, right? So are there not possessions happening today? Are people not being possessed? I don't know. Maybe he would say no. Maybe he's a cessationist.
Well, he says that his point earlier was that demons possess and God, or demons possess and the devil doesn't. The devil just tempts.
Yeah.
But now he's talking about demons being at the root of all our problems, which again, to be fair, is along the same vein, but it is a little muddy because he went from distinguishing the devil from demons to now talking about how demons aren't all the source of all our problems.
Right. It still doesn't answer the question for me. Okay, because like, yeah, I'm willing to go as far with Brad to say maybe it's not literally Satan, but what about all the Christians that say it is demons? Because we do have at least some evidence for that in the New Testament that demons are out there doing shit, right? I feel like he hasn't addressed that. At least you haven't read that to me so far.
Yeah, I don't think he gets into it that.
Well, that's kind of fucking dumb, isn't it? Because that kind of undermines the whole fucking point here. I mean, yeah, okay, it's all right, Mr. Stine, Brad, you win, okay? It's not literally fucking Satan. There's still an army of demons out there doing shit that a lot of Christians believe is actually happening. Like, just go to YouTube. You'd be surprised how many millions of views some of these Pentecostal YouTuber types get just by talking about celebrity demons. We've talked about it. That, you know, we've reviewed some of those. So I don't know. I guess he's not interested in figuring out the truth about that.
Yeah. All right. So he says he equates this whole thing about wanting miracles to the whole not my responsibility thing. Yeah. This idea has become so ingrained in the new American psyche, a destination so often traveled to, it should become our 51st state! Exclamation point.
Oh my God.
Now, this point you're totally going to hear in Brad's voice.
Oh, no.
Welcome, visitors, to the state of It's Not My Fault. And please, before you leave, don't forget to tour the capital city of Blame Others for My Dysfunction.
Oh, no. He's teetering on the edge there. Like, the next thing you know, I'm waiting, Zod, for him to be like, I'm not racist against black people. It's the culture. You know, I'm waiting for that. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't like rap music. You know, it's there. It's right there. That same line of reasoning.
Yeah. Okay, but he's going to take a twist here.
Okay.
We are Americans, for goodness sake. We think trials are when we can only afford one car. Tribulations are not being able to pray publicly before a football game. Wake up. Try being a Christian in North Korea or the Middle East. They have discovered the true meaning of being a believer.
I love when Christians acknowledge the suffering of other people in other countries, but only Christians. They never talk about any other group of people and their persecution and suffering. It's always just, what about the Christians in China? You know? Oh, man. Yeah. Wow. Is this Brad here? Just saying. Sound a little
it was interesting to like go after Christians for the persecution complex thing. You don't have it so bad here.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Then again, sorry.
It's like he gets me in the first half. It's like, okay, yeah, I agree. Like, not being able to pray before a football game is not the end of the world. But it's like, you need to think about the suffering of the North Korean Christians. That's our standard of suffering. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a Christian and you see a part of the world where like everybody's being just totally ground down by an authoritarian regime, you don't see that regime just tries to control everybody. Like you see, oh, there's some Christians that it's happening to. Maybe the Christians are just part of the population. Maybe this isn't a Christian persecution problem, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to skip around a little bit here.
Okay.
All caps with an exclamation point. We are also in prison, because he talks about people being imprisoned in other countries and stuff.
Oh my God, he's doing the all caps thing again.
The prison of consumer goods. We are enslaved to our confidence in society.
Stop! No! Shut up! Run that back. Run that back for me, please. I need to hear that again. That's great.
First half's in all caps.
Yeah.
We are also in prison! Exclamation point. The prison of consumer goods.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
Right.
Christians just love, because like, and this is like right-leaning people in general, like a lot of their grievances is not actually with liberals or with left-wing people. It's actually capitalism. Right? Like
Yeah.
it always tends to go that way. It's like, oh, I don't like all this gay stuff on TV. It's like that's literally capitalism at work. That's not just because you don't like gay people. You don't like people taking advantage of people having a market for that content. That's why that's out there. That's why it exists. So I don't know. It's very funny.
Yeah. Well, also there's just this general. Traditionally, Christians are supposed to be against materialism
Yeah,
and
it's
but
so
then that doesn't really.
non-committal though.
Yeah, it doesn't really square well with their whole being pro-capitalist and
Yeah,
yeah, it's there's so many different things at play there.
yeah.
Okay, so here he gets to how Satan interacts with us and how we're supposed to respond. I mean, look at Adam and Eve in the garden. When we read this story, nowhere do we see God warning them about Satan. So,
Okay.
he explains their situation, says God told them not to eat of the tree. Then he says, yet God only focused on one thing. Are you going to obey me? No excuses. Again, it's as if Satan's only role is to provide the opportunity for us to disobey. We do the choosing.
Well, he kind of brought up an interesting point there because it's like, why didn't God be like, oh, and hey, watch out for this snake creature I made here that might tempt you, right? Like, would that not kind of lower the probability there that, you would listen to him or, given a warning or something?
Yeah, again, this almost sounds like an atheist making fun of the story.
Yeah.
God stuck them in the Garden of Eden and didn't even warn about the snake. That's something we would say to talk about how the story doesn't make sense.
Right.
But Brad takes that as a reason to his takeaway from it is that God doesn't tell us about the devil. We're not supposed to worry about the devil. All we're supposed to worry about is obedience.
Yeah, this is the equivalent of like a child. If a child gets abducted by a stranger in a van because the stranger says he has candy in the van, like you wouldn't necessarily shame the child. You would want to like prevent the child from like having to deal with the consequences of that because like they you don't want them to deal with like that kind of suffering because they don't necessarily know what's right and like well people are sketchy and stuff, right? So like how can you expect like the very first people who literally have no life experience to draw from or from any previous life experience to just like make that decision on their own and make the right one and punish them for it? Like it just doesn't make sense.
And you willfully withheld knowledge of good and evil from them, which everyone's made that point.
Yeah. So
but yeah, with the van and the candy analogy, it would be like as if you didn't even tell your kids that there's a guy driving around with a van and stay away from him.
Or like, you didn't even watch out for stranger danger or something.
Yeah, you don't even explain that. You just say, hey, don't eat any candy today.
Yeah.
And then, well, I told him not to eat candy. It was
eat candy.
To quote Brad Stine, you should only be focused on one thing. Are you going to obey? No excuses.
Yeah. Okay. Whoa.
So he kind of goes different ways with the tone of this and stuff. But really the point is mostly you're not supposed to be fixated on Satan. You're just supposed to be fixated on obeying God. And I think more broadly, the insinuation, especially because this always falls to jabs at atheists or non-believers, the broader point is beyond that, you're not supposed to expect any sign or any supernatural, nothing that tests the idea of God, just obey.
Right. Just believe it.
It's pretty standard stuff, just explained a little more bluntly than usual with the annoying comedy stylings of Brad Stine.
It is like common in Christian apologetics, except Brad Stine doesn't have. See, he hasn't read enough apologetical literature, so he doesn't know how to dress this up in like flowery language or anything. So he's just doing like a really poor job of explaining this, and the holes become much more obvious. But what he's saying here is no different, like from what folks like William Lane Craig and other people say. He's just saying it in a stupider way, but the logic is still there. It's still just, you just need to obey God, and that's the end of it. So,
yeah. So you're going to riff on Satan here a minute. I just want to read this part.
Okay. All right.
The bottom line is Satan is real, but he's overrated. I mean, look at the powers we ascribe to him. We consider him the ultimate evil guy. No one is more wicked or devious. and yet unnecessary comma, no one has ever actually seen him, exclamation point.
What?
But we've all seen pictures, and if you've seen a picture of Satan, you can see why he's lying low. I mean, if your job was to be the ultimate scourge on humanity, sneaking around among us without detection, wouldn't you have chosen the less obvious costume by now? Seems to me if you're trying to be inconspicuous, maybe you shouldn't be completely red, all caps, for example. Maybe you should stop carrying a pitchfork for no apparent reason and unnecessary comma for crying out loud. Put on some pants, exclamation point. In every picture of Satan, he's never wearing pants, exclamation point. Just how intimidating can a pantless red guy be, exclamation point, question mark.
Does he wait, does he literally think Satan is like a cartoon red guy with like a pitchfork? Are you fucking serious? What? Wait, he's so serious about this. I thought he was joking. He really thinks that. He really
No, I don't think he does. He's this is just where his messaging and his way of articulating is so muddled that it creates confusion. Because what I'm pretty sure he's trying to do is say that Christians exaggerate the role of Satan, right? He's this more obscure figure that just tries to get us to disobey. Then I think he's making fun of the idea, not only that they exaggerate Satan, but of the traditional, devil figure who's red and has a pitchfork. But he says it, he doesn't make that transition clear. He says it as if no wonder Satan want to lay low. This is what he looks like. And I can read between the lines and assume he doesn't think that that's actually Satan. I'm positive he doesn't, but the way he jokes about it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm really fucking confused because like if you're saying, "Oh, I've never seen him like wearing any pants or something," like it sounds like he's doing a bit, but like I don't know what's genuine about his beliefs or not. Now, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
It stops being funny when you have to wonder what the fuck the guy is saying. Like this has been a constant so far with this guy where it's like I don't know what's real and what's like you being funny.
Well, he's clearly trying to make a joke. He just totally biffs his intro into this whole thing about the cartoon image of Satan. And he makes it sound like he's actually making fun of Satan. And it's just, you can't, this is the problem with this. Remember how I said last time, he doesn't set up, he doesn't pay off. There's no flow to his comedy.
Yeah.
He keeps going to all these individual bits, whatever he thinks of at the time. And some of them contradict themselves. None of them connect. Here, he like flows into something in a way that like his point doesn't make sense. You have to do the work as the audience member of understanding what the joke about a red devil is and assume that's what he means because he doesn't say it. And
like all that material that should have been sprinkled in with all of the other shit you were talking about. Like that should have been with the part of you making fun of Christians for what people believe about Satan instead of like tailing it all in at the end there. That's like really confusing because it's this ping pong of like not making good structural comedy. God, I was guffawing because like I legit think that it sounded like that's what he believed, but like, yeah, I guess what you're saying makes sense, but it also like, I'm not like reading it. I don't have it in front of me, but like, it's just, it should still just be funny regardless. Like I should be able to understand just by you reading it to me, but I'm not. It's so fucking confusingly written. My God.
Like you don't have to be so on the nose that you say, I'm talking about a Christian image of Satan or a traditional image of Satan.
Yeah.
But you need to communicate that transition somehow just so that your message isn't so muddy. Like
Yeah, that's just stupid. All right.
Anyway,
I'm disappointed. I thought he really believed that Satan was like a red pitchfork guy. That would be awesome. I would love for that to be Brad Stine's legitimate belief about Satan. Oh, man. Oh, well.
His next line, just to read it in isolation. Even worse, While some Christians are always looking for the latest place Satan tries to rear his horny head, they never see it as a spiritual battle involving obedience.
Whoa, okay. Calm down there. Calm down there, bud. Yeah, so Satan does, I guess when Satan does show up there, it's not, Christians aren't seeing it as a test of obedience or whatever. Okay. I get like why do people think, okay, Satan didn't do this in the Bible? What if he fucking could though? What's stopping him from doing other things? Just because like the people in the Bible didn't record it. That's like an interesting thing. Like these characters like Satan and of course God and Jesus, like they have to be static people, right? Like they can't ever change or evolve or say something else over time. I think that's really interesting. Obviously, because I guess for Christians, they're looking at back as like literal historical figures, but also like they're presumably alive in the world and doing stuff. So I don't know what's stopping Satan from doing other things. Just because he fucked around with Jesus doesn't mean he can't fuck around with people too. I don't know. It's just weird.
So now he's gone from like obedience, this weird thing about Satan, and he's starting to go to if they have a problem with something under culture, the response seems to be threefold. First, to fear it, then to condemn it, and then to try to ban it. But then he says, when did banning anything in our society ever work? I'm glossing over some of this stuff.
Free speech guy. He's a free speech guy.
Boy, did banning alcohol. We tried banning alcohol once. Boy, did that work like a charm. Yeah, you couldn't find a drink at all in the roaring 20s, 2 exclamation points. Just ask Al Capone. Yeah. Okay. That's
very free speech is not okay. So he's not just a free speech guy. He says, no, you can't ban anything, banning stuff at all.
He's saying banning things doesn't work. No, they just keep trying to ban stuff. Just look at the people who want. Just hang on. You know where this is going to go once you hear it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
They just keep trying to ban stuff. Just look at the people who keep trying to ban weed. No, that's not what he said. Just look at the people who keep trying to ban guns. That makes more sense, right?
Okay. You had me there. I was like, wait, is Brad Stine a libertarian now? Oh, this is a new angle. But okay, yeah, ban guns. So yeah, obviously the ban weed part, but you can go even further than that. Like, okay, how about sex work, right? Does Brad Stine think we should ban that? Because it's banned in a lot of places, but banning stuff doesn't work, right? So maybe he does believe that. I don't know. Or how about slavery? Maybe we should have got rid of it. Well, you can't. It's always going to be there in some form, right? You shouldn't ban it. That's what he would say, I think.
I'm banning someone. I can't tell exactly what's going on with them, but they just seem like they're being obnoxious.
Ironic that you're banning somebody right now in our chat as we're talking about banning things, but
yeah, you think you try to ban people and that control anyway. I'm not saying we shouldn't look at or consider some of the problems of violence in our society, but what bothers me is banning something will make the specific problem going away. The problem is never the object to be banned. It's always the problem of the human heart. Banning is a cover for the fact the secular mind cannot find solutions to society's problems and doesn't know what to do about it. So
Brad's an anarchist. He's saying the government shouldn't ban anything. I think, right? That's what I'm hearing.
I don't think that's where he's. I have a feeling he's probably selective in that opinion.
Oh yeah.
I'm not so sure that he wants drugs everywhere, or I don't know. Should we ban drag queen story hours?
Yeah. Should we ban gay marriage? Sounds like we shouldn't do that. I think, right?
I'm not so sure this is a real thought out position as much as a knee jerk reaction.
No, thinking man Brad Stine, I don't think has the most thought out take on this stuff. Again, like the many chuds before him and after him, right? That have been like, oh, I'm a skeptic. I'm just asking questions. These people just do not have any real thought out opinions or solutions to any societal problems at all, other than just like the dumbest takes, like, oh, we shouldn't ban anything.
Yeah. So the core point here is you can't just make rules against things. You have to address the human heart. And he says the secular mind has no way to deal with that.
Mm.
Christianity is the only answer because everything's about sin. So basically you have to use our specific misunderstanding about human behavior instead of it's like secular society's only tool to deal with anything. There's no psychology, there's no sociology, there's no understandings of human behavior or anything like that. The only thing we understand is banning stuff. Sure, Brad, you understand actual things very well.
Yeah, that's how the real world works. Again, like you could just take this so many directions. I don't know. Why would you put this in a book and not think about this for 2 seconds? I don't know.
Here's a line that you're expecting, but you just don't realize it yet. If banning is that effective, why not just cut to the chase? I know. Let's ban crime.
Whoa. Oh no. Oh no.
Sure, I can see the crooks now. Well, I was going to shoot that guy, but apparently it's illegal now. Guess I'll have to turn to a life of labor.
Like that, yeah. That's what's amazing is like, oh my god, he literally said ban crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh my god.
Ban crime is a tautology.
Yeah.
Crime by definition is everything that's banned. Dumbass.
Oh, it's so fucking stupid. Like, yeah, I do think I don't know about you, Brad, but I do think like making murder illegal like does stop people from murdering things. I call me crazy. I do think that it has an effect. Maybe I'm not thinking this clearly. Maybe you have something I don't. But yeah, I do think those laws kind of do something.
Yeah.
But hey, what do I know? Maybe we should all be in an anarchist paradise.
You think the streets might as well be flowing with fentanyl because it's just a matter of the human heart and banning doesn't do anything? I doubt Brad's going to take that stance.
Yeah. Like, what do you think? Do you think when when someone's taking a knee at a football game, you think Brad's going to speak up about that, or do you think he's going to be like, oh no, we should let him do that? I don't know. God. Stupid.
But again, speaking of just how disjointed and nonsensical this whole message is, he said, what was, according to him, what is the solution in the Garden of Eden, or what was God's solution?
Did God have a solution?
Ban eating from the tree of knowledge. That was, he said God shouldn't have even warned them about Satan or anything. Don't explain anything. Just here, let me
make a choice.
Let me read it again.
Yeah.
Are you going to obey me? No excuses. So literally just ban something with no explanation. So he goes from explaining that God just banned eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and that was good. That was all he should have done, to now banning stuff doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pick a lane for 5 seconds, Brad.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's true.
You're exhausting.
I see what you're saying. Like, the best Christian argument you can make for the whole, temptation thing is just it's an allegorical part of people's nature, right? Like, people are going to be doing bad things and have temptation because that's just something to the human condition. And so, like, if you take that stance that Adam and Eve isn't a literal story, but is in fact a allegory for the human condition, there is something to that, right? You can make something of it. But the problem is, I am fairly convinced that Brad Stine does believe that Adam and Eve are like literal people that exist, and Satan was a literal snake thing that tempted them and stuff. So like the whole thing just kind of falls apart. It just doesn't really work.
Yeah. So dumb.
I don't know.
All right. I'm just going to read a couple more snippets here. This all turns into this whole thing about banning and everything for the most part. But he's going to turn it into now turning it against Christians. So you see, a believer is always sensitive to what is going to be the most effective way to represent Christ. Take, for example, the entire flap over the Harry Potter books a while back.
There it is.
With the claim of teaching kids about sorcery, magic, and the like. So basically, you predicted another thing from the Fox thing. I'm not even going to comment on the fact that the greatest Christian apologist of the 20th century, C.S. Lewis, used these same concepts to create Narnia books. Actually, I guess I just did comment on it in parentheses.
Wow.
Good job, Brad. Yeah,
super cool. Except Jesus is using magic in that book. Magic being like like magic, right?
Yeah.
Because like Aslan is Jesus or whatever. So I don't know if it works the same way with Harry Potter, where like anybody can use magic. But
Yeah, it's. I mean, what I'm spacing. Narnia was obviously a direct allegory for Christianity.
yeah,
But I can see his thinking where it still had elements of magic, and if Harry Potter could be using those in an allegorical way, even if it's not for direct Christian messaging. I mean, I'm at least with him on this. He cleared the lowest of bars in this instance,
right.
even though
Yeah.
he had to do it in the most obnoxious way possible.
Yeah. It's like we should let people do magic because another Christian did it in a book.
Yeah,
Like
good point.
that's the argument there. It's like, okay, well, I guess we could do that for a lot of things.
To be fair and balanced, he didn't say that it was right because of C.S. Lewis. He just used him as an example, saying I'm not even going to bring him up.
Yeah, I guess.
We're just going to overlook that he called C.S. Lewis the greatest Christian apologist of the 20th century.
I mean, that's what people think. That's what people who haven't read C.S. Lewis think. Is my conjecture, right?
Even people who have think that, I think.
Yeah.
When I was a Christian, I wanted to believe that. Like, he would say things that were basically the same as Josh McDowell. And as a Christian, I thought Josh McDowell was just kind of a cheap huckster. But when I would try to read the same things from C.S. Lewis differently and see them as intelligent because I wanted him to stand as that bulwark of, defending the Christian faith.
Yeah.
He literally says the same things and is immature in the exact same ways as all the other apologists. He just sounds fancy because he's British and from a different time, and he uses examples and analogy that sound smart because they're foreign to us.
Right. And C.S. Lewis is a legitimately good writer, right? So like you can make things sound better just by the language that you use. I've read C.S. Lewis. I've been impressed by his writing, but if you actually break down the structure of his arguments, it's no more impressive really than any apologist that I've ever encountered. So yeah.
William Lane Craig is a great public debater that somebody
and
can be
I
good
would
at
say
one craft and everything.
a better apologist than C.S. Lewis. Yeah, I would even go that far, but I don't know. That's my take.
All righty, let's wrap a couple things up here real quick.
Okay.
So I'm just going to touch on a couple of these things he makes fun of Christians for. When I was a kid, I was taught that one of Satan's most evil tricks was, are you ready? Backward masking. So backmasking, you know what that is, right?
Oh yeah, with the subliminal messages and stuff. Okay,
where you play rock. If you play rock music backwards, it's all
right.
I'm sorry, but if you're starting to play your records backwards, perhaps you deserve to hear a message from Satan. He's probably just giving instructions. All caps. It's going the wrong way. Can I borrow your pants?
What the fuck? Am I having a stroke? What's happening? What is this? What? He lost me on if you're listening to music backwards, maybe you deserve to listen to Satan. What the fuck kind of point is that?
I'm not even sure. Let's see.
All caps shit. Oh my god, he's such a boomer. I swear to God.
I don't even know what he means. And
what is he saying?
If you're starting to play your records backward, perhaps you deserve. So does he mean if you're going to go through the trouble, then you deserve it? Is he saying if you play your music backwards, then you're bad and you deserve it? It doesn't. It's ambiguous.
Why is it inherently bad to play music backwards? It doesn't.
Again, try making sense of any of his. Even his jokes are.
God.
Not only at best they're like cornball and lazy. And then you get to stuff like this where you can tell he's trying to be funny, but you can't even understand what he's referring to or what the target of his humor is.
I just get confused. I just don't understand it. It's just, very weird.
At least he called back to the devil not having pants thing. If you find a real hit, just keep playing it.
Yeah, I guess so. God, it's so strange.
So he goes on about this. This gets kind of blah. Of course, he mentions the fact that, well, it doesn't even matter if they backmask. You can't even tell what the rock. I've heard rock from the 70s. You can't even tell what they're saying anyway. That's like the most boomer stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Here's more of his wordplay if you'd like to hear some of that.
Oh, I love that. Please.
I have first. Let's see if there's anything leads up to this that I should read. Oh God. Okay, let me do one more thing. Look, if backward words were evil, then all words backward would be potentially dangerous tools of Satan! Exclamation points. For example, Dallas, Texas. People in Dallas would start becoming possessed by eating cabbage. Why? Because Dallas backward is salad.
That might be the worst fucking joke I've ever heard in my goddamn life. I'm dead serious. This is not a bit. That took my breath away. I have never. I'm fucking offended. I'm indignant. That is. God. That's almost a. That is a. I'm legitimately offended at how bad that fucking joke was. I can't. I'm speechless. Holy fucking shit. I cannot think of a worse joke right now. I've never. That is so bad. Wow. Dallas, Texas backwards is salad. So people would be afraid if backwards writing was real. What the fuck is happening in this book, Zod?
So remember how I said that Brad never builds up to stuff and pays off? He finally does that in a matter of speaking in this paragraph, but his buildup is, for example, Dallas, Texas. People in Dallas would start becoming possessed by eating cabbage. Yeah. Why? I take back what I said.
His building is with fucking Legos, Zod. This is fucking built up. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
I take back what I said. For Brad Stine, build up and payoff is just too complicated of a task. Just stick with blurting shit out, man.
Oh my God, this man was on tour. Zod. People paid money to see this guy. Are you fucking for real? People paid $20 when this book came out. 20 fucking bucks.
Really says, yeah, it's salad misspelled. That's another part
of
it.
It's not even spelled right.
You have to fudge.
I think we need to put this guy in jail. I think if there was ever, listen, I like free speech as much as the next guy, but if we're gonna arrest people for fucking thought crimes, Brad Stine is FBI's most fucking wanted. Okay, that we need to put him in some re-education camps. All right, I'm so serious. This should not be allowed in a free and functioning society. I'm banning this speech right now. I am now anti-free speech. That is crazy. That is so bad.
Zach Parker said, "Race car taco cat backwards is taco cat race car."
Yeah.
Which I bring up partly because not only was this joke bad, not only does Dallas not spell salad backwards, but he could have picked any word and built up to it in any way. And of all the words that actually are the same frontward and backwards, he constructed a whole joke around a word that you have to fudge on that. He was not forced into using Dallas.
It's like, God, it fails on so many levels when you think about it. Because it's like, okay, the thing with the backmasking is it's audio. So it's not literal words that are backwards. It's the pronunciation of words backwards, which is different from spelling and stuff, right? It doesn't work on any level at all. I think this metaphysically is bursting down the blood flow in my brain right now. I'm having a stroke trying to comprehend this. I think I'm actively I'm turning 29 tomorrow. I think I actively just turned 30 now. I think I just aged another year listening to that joke. I'm physically affected by this. I can't.
Are you saying that Saturday is birthday morn?
Yes, Saturday is birthday morn. It's birthday eve. It's birthday eve today. So
happy birthday Eve, by the way.
Thanks. No, I'm having a stroke. I'm having a stroke thinking about this joke because it is so bad. And like, people talk about how we need to ban vaccines because of, the jab doing stuff for you long term. I think we need to study the long-term health implications for listening to Brad Stine's jokes, because I guarantee you I'm going to be having some sort of complications down the line from listening to this drivel today. This has been quite an event, I will say.
I do agree with Shivers about something. Dan is such a baby.
Let me tell you. I'm aged now. I'm fully grown. I just gained another mortgage listening to that joke. That really did a number on me.
Yeah, listening to that joke is like drinking from the wrong cup.
Yeah, it is. And the cup is urine.
Let's just tie the last couple pages here with a couple quotes. This is we're gonna just finish up with a little bit of Brad Stine wordplay. Does that sound fun to you?
God, no. Again? More? That shit. Holy fuck. I don't think my heart can take it, but all right.
I have firsthand experience with the ignorance of Christians who mean well, but who just end up being, well, mean.
I'm peacing out. Goodbye. I'm done with this fucking bullshit, man. It's the worst. All right.
One more, and then I'll just read us through the end of the chapter.
All right, I'm ready.
He talks about how he did magic at this one restaurant, and these Christians said magic's of the devil, blah, blah, blah. And he has his little grudges. This is where Satan's skills truly come into play. Allow the Christians to destroy their own credibility by being intellectually, uncredible. God, so again,
stupid fucking
ways to human. Yes, Dan melted into the fire.
Gross. Is there more?
I'm just going to finish off. We have like one paragraph. This brings us right to the end. Satan barely lifts a hoof, and voila, another soul bound for the kingdom of hell. My friends, before I became a comedian, I made a living as a professional sleight of hand artist for a number of years. Some of the best in the world are friends of mine. I call shenanigans on that. I'm going to give you a special spiritual phrase you need to pass on to the next Christian you find embarrassing the rest of us with their misunderstanding of the art of illusion. Gently yet firmly, in love, of course, scream as loud as possible. It's just a card trick! All caps, exclamation point, exclamation point. And that is the end of chapter 1.
What? Wait. Hang on. I gotta get up. Hang on. It's taking a minute. I gotta rise from the dead here. So, excuse me, what the fuck? that's he's saying this chapter. It's just a card trick. What's the card trick? Am I still stroking out?
I think the idea here is supposed to be that the devil is just a deceiver, maybe. And
what?
I'm going to give you a special spiritual phrase, and you pass on it who find embarrassing the rest of us with their misunderstanding of the art of illusion. Yeah, I think he's trying to say that Satan just deceives us or creates illusions for us, and then he ends with it's just a card trick. I think he has a way that he wants to say things and make his final point. But
did anybody read this book before putting this out there? Because that's the worst fucking way you could have made that point. What the fuck? I'm sitting here in awe, just wondering what the fuck I just read or heard you read. And like you saying it out loud, like that makes sense. But that's just so bad. God, this is so bad. I'm baffled by this. What the fuck?
All I'm doing, I'm really doing my best to connect the dots and help this along to make sense. Because, yeah, it's if I were a teacher, I would be marking all kinds of things about what are you trying to say here and what's your point and how do you connect your ideas together.
Oh, well, that's chapter 2. It's not ending with a bang, but with a
no. That's the rest of chapter. That's the rest of chapter 1.
Oh, rest of chapter
1. We barely started chapter 1 last time. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Great. How many chapters are in this thing again?
There's 11 different things the devil does. So we'll take a break. We have some other stuff coming up, but we'll get back to this. And if if this just starts to get old, then we'll,
I think I got another concussion from listening to that. That's crazy. It got progressively worse by the end. Him making coherent thoughts and points there. That's just God. So bad.
Anyway, we're a few minutes over. We should probably get moving. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm gonna have to file, a claim to my health insurance that I just received some sort of Brad Stine related injury, and I don't know if my insurance is going to cover that. I don't know if they're Brad believers that these kinds of things happen, but I am a victim, and we will speak out. We will form a coalition. We'll form a Facebook group, and we'll make it happen. So if you or a loved one have been affected by the jokes of Brad Stine, please contact Zidanza at zidanzashow@gmail.com. And you may be entitled to financial compensation. I think is how I'd like to address the audience for that.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for showing up. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks to all our patrons, super chatters, everyone who just showed up. And Dan, I think with that, you are taking a one-way trip to the land of I don't want to take responsibility and the capital city of whatever,
Okay.
Just own up for your actions. Brad didn't break your mind.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Right. Yeah, I need to.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, thanks for reading tonight. My God, what trash.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue, la casa de la bachata. La, 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 la casa del merengue. La, 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 y la casa de la bachata. Música, música, música.